move.
Yeah, you basically choose between Head Smash and Terror Blast at this point if you are the Choice Banded set. Flare Blitz, Rock Slide, Extreme Speed, that's basically guaranteed. There's no reason not to run those on the Choice Banded set. We'll have to see if Head Smash is going to pay off for Alessandro here, because Arcanine is being led immediately with that Tornadus as well, and Alessio is going to be leading with that Roaring Moon and the Landorus.
So we've already got available options of speed control on both sides on the field. However, it's that ultimate battle, and I think your headline topic as well, Jamie, of which is better to set Tailwind, the Tornadus or the Roaring Moon?
Yeah, no bias from me. Oh, there is the supportive Roaring Moon there. It is going to be that Tailwind set, so it is the true battle here between the two Tailwind setters, who's going to come on top, and also the battle between the two Intimidators. You've led with the Alessio Arcanine and the Landorus, absolutely the two most common Intimidate Pokemon that we do have available in that format. Landorus tends to come out on top though, given that quad weakness to the ground type attacks from the Arcanine, as well going to be carrying the Choice Scarf, so it's definitely going to be faster than the Arcanine. However, this is the downside of the Roaring Moon against the Tornadus. The Prankster could allow that Tailwind to allow that Arcanine to move first. Not this turn though, it's switching into Amoonguss.
Indeed, so Amoonguss actually coming in here, maybe wanting to capitalize off of a subsequent position to actually put another Pokemon to sleep, but we see Knockoff coming out from Roaring Moon, being able to get rid of the Rocky Helmet on Tornadus and getting inflicted damage onto it, but the Rock Slide from Landorus is actually going to go ahead and flinch the Tornadus, which from the looks of things was trying to go onto the offensive, perhaps with that Icy Wind.
Yeah, that would have done a lot of damage to that Landorus, and it's super effective into both, so Icy Wind would have been a great call there, but unfortunately that is one of the downsides of Rock Slide. It can get those flinches, and now you're kind of forced to go for Tailwind with the Tornadus. You can't really go for an Icy Wind anymore. A Knockoff and another Rock Slide, that might be KO in this Tornadus. Definitely not though this turn, because Landorus has now switched into the Golden Go.
Indeed, Golden Go actually being able to nullify any sort of spores that try to target down that slot. This may well be a Protect coming out from the Roaring Moon, just to try to ensure from Alessio's side that he's completely covered in terms of being able to be susceptible to sleep. But no Protect here. Going to be able to knock off the Citrus Berry, and the Amoonguss is going to be targeting down that Roaring Moon. So, unfortunately for Alessio, not being able to get on top of that turn, as we do see both Golden Goes are now on the field, Jamie.
Yeah, it looks like Alessio was trying to catch that Spore with the Golden Go. Of course, that Good as Gold ability going to keep it completely safe from that. So this Amoonguss, it's done its job. It's put the Roaring Moon to sleep. Now it can't really do too much. It's potentially pollen puffing its own Golden Go up to be able to recover that HP, but I think the speed interactions here is going to be pretty crucial. They're both holding the leftovers, so that's not really an indication of who's going to be the faster Golden Go. Both are on a Tailwind team, so we'll just have to see on this turn which Golden Go is going to be faster. Obviously, you're threatening with a Shadow Ball, but because they are the leftover set, that might not be strong enough, even with that super effective hit without a Nasty Plot.
Ooh, nice switch here from Alessio. You're not going to be able to fall to Spore in that slot with the Ogerpon having the grass typing and being switched in there. However, there may be no need of that. Alessandro just going ahead and switching the Tornadus straight in, maybe wanting to go ahead and better his position in the following turn. But we've got our first terrestrialization on the field, and it seems to be Alessandro's going for the Dragon typing here, being able to move first, quite notably, and getting a Nasty Plot set up, +2 of its special attack here. And I think we're going to be seeing the exact same mirror action from Alessio's, but I think the speed interactions here would likely be most crucial. However, Tornadus would have still guaranteed the outspeed of the Tailwind, but this may allow it to attack now.
Yeah, this is still definitely good information going forward for the entire set, that Alessio's Golden Go is at least not as fast as the one that Alessandro is running, but has Follow Me redirection now available with that Ogerpon, so you can't go for a Shadow Ball into the Golden Go very safely. That can easily be redirected, and if you go for that Make It Rain, then it's not very effective into the opposing Golden Goes. And now you've got rid of your Steel typing, Make It Rain is going to be neutral into the opposing Golden Go, so I don't see anything wrong with a Follow Me and just a Make It Rain from Alessio's side here. Yeah, Shadow Ball will do great damage to the Ogerpon if it does go for the redirection, but because that Tornadus has got the Tailwind available to it, now it hasn't said it so far, it easily can and allow that Golden Go on Alessandro's side to move first.
Ooh, Alessio may be going ahead and actually trying to read into that. Does opt to go go for a spiky shield there, wants to play on the defensive, followed suit by the Golden Go over on Alessandro's side. And guess what? We've got 3 protects coming out. What's Tornado's going to do? Is it just going to go ahead and get a setup of Tailwind? No, it is going to just try to go on the offensive with the Bleak Wind Storm and failing naturally. Not due to missing, but due to running into brick walls.
Oh, what an exciting turn there.
Oh,
Protects
so
all around. Not even leftovers recovery to stall out there. It wasn't at least a Tailwind set on the Tornadoes, just going for the Bleak Wind Storm. That could have been just at least 1 turn of the Tailwind used up immediately for Alessandro's side if he did go for that, because it would have just been whiffed into a double protect there. But now that they went for the Bleak Wind Storm and can now set the Tailwind, would be able to have an extra turn in the future.
Indeed. And I think something to make note of as well is the Roaring Moon not being able to take advantage of any sort of booster energy anymore, as it's already been used up when it does try to come back onto the field. But we do have the Ogerpon now going ahead and showing off its terrestrialization, its glorious one, with the embody aspect, giving it the +1 in special defense. Accompanied by the follow me right now will mean that it is going to be a specially defensive wall right now that unfortunately Alessandro's Golden Go will have to try to overcome in order to target down Alessio's Golden Go. Shadow Ball being able to guarantee a 2-hit KO, but the real question is, what damage is this? It is a lot of damage. However, Golden Go seems to actually be able to hold in with the slither of health.
That's all the amount of health you need, especially because you're going to get a little bit of leftovers recovery as well. You've got the Tailwind set on your side of the field. The Tornadoes finally went for that move. Now you're definitely outspeeding both of these Pokemon with your Golden Go, and assumedly this Arcanine, which is joining the field as well. That's going to threaten a lot of damage with its Choice Band. Now it's going to be important which is going to move first, the Golden Go on Alessandro's side of the field or the Arcanine, because that Follow Me could redirect any of the attacks. That could be a Choice Banded Flare Blitz that could be targeting the Golden Go. We've just seen that the Golden Go from Alessandro's side of the field, Shadow Ball is enough to knock out that Ogerpon, even with the special defense boost with that Shadow Ball. If Golden Go has been trained faster than Arcanine, this is just a Shadow Ball KO into Ogerpon, then a Flare Blitz KO into the Golden Go. But if it's the other way around, so Ogerpon could have redirected, but not going to. It's going to switch out instead to the Roaring Moon.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. Let's see how it pans out, trainers, as the Protect does come from that Golden Go on Alessio's side, not wanting to risk things and be able to stall a turn of Tailwind. Head Smash being revealed, picks up an outrageous KO onto the Roaring Moon, completely knocking itself out here. I don't think Alessio minds as much at the moment. I think Alessio's game plan may have to be to try to stall out Tailwind, bring in the Choice Stuff, Landorus Therian later on in the game to be able to at least bring this back in his favor. But Shadow Ball seems to have tried to follow up after Head Smash, and seems like the answer's there. The Arcanine is faster than the Golden Go.
Yeah, so that means you couldn't have gone for the Shadow Ball and then the Flare Blitz, so it makes sense to lock into the Head Smash instead, because that would have KO'd the opposing Ogerpon. Would have had to be that move. Any other attack probably wouldn't have been able to KO that Ogerpon. But now you've intimidated the Arcanine. Head Smash is not going to be doing as much, and it can't really do too much to the Golden Go. Instead, it kind of has to be the Shadow Ball coming out from the opposing Golden Go on Alessandro's side of the field. But you don't have the Ogerpon on the field. You switched in the Landorus to get the Intimidate, but that means you can't go for the Follow Me. You can't go for something like a Head Smash dodge into the Shadow Ball, still being redirected into the Ogerpon at this point. That Clutch Survival with minimal HP on the Golden Go is all it needed here to still be threatening the massive damage. Make It Rain and a Head Smash might be able to KO the Golden Go. It'll be pretty close, because it's still going to be at +2, because Head Smash is pretty strong even after it's been intimidated.
I think there may be a case where Landorus actually will just try to go for the damage and completely ignore potentially being threatened here, but Arcanine switches out for the Amoonguss. A story as old as time there between the interaction of those two Pokemon, as the Shadow Ball goes and actually picks up the one-hit KO onto Alessio's Golden Go, out of commission completely. Rock Slide just enough to pick up the KO on the Golden Go over on Alessandro's side. So this seems to be a case where Alessio, may be trying to set up a Rock Slide win condition going into the end game.
And we've seen what Rock Slide can do already, even just on the first turn. It got that flinch on the Tornadoes to put a stop to that icy wind. The could have done a load of damage to the Landorus, but instead it's still at full HP. The Terror on the Ogerpon might come back to bite Alessio now, because if it stayed as its regular old grass typing as well, you would assume that the Ogerpon is going to be able to outspeed the Arcanine. It will depend on the training and if you go bulky on your Ogerpon, but then you would have had the incredibly safe plays of just Ivy Cudgel into the Arcanine. You can't be redirected, there's nothing you can do. However, because you did go for the Terror and drop your grass typing, Rage Powder would be able to come into play, so there is still a chance back into this match for that Arcanine. After the Intimidate, probably going to be able to survive a Rock Slide and respond back with a strong attack of its own. So there's definitely still a chance here. The Landorus and the Ogerpon are still in a great position. It could have been a game-winning position immediately if there was no Terror, but it did make sense in the face of that +2 Golden Go to get your special defense boost. But in this situation, it's still open to basically Rock Slide. Wow, that's head smash movement for the Landorus.
It is indeed. It seems like Tailwind is still in effect. Just barely one-hit KO once again there. This Choice Bandit Hisuian Arcanine going down to its own recoil from the KO there. What an outrageous Pokemon with an outrageous amount of damage output there. But Ivy Cudgel, it is going to be Water Terror boosted here. However, the damage is very pitiful and minimal. Spore, now due to the mono water typing of the Ogerpon, is going to be able to successfully connect. And I think from what it looks like, Jamie, we may be here for a couple more turns.
It's more than a couple, I'm afraid.
Oh no.
Like, the special defense boost is great on the Ogerpon.
Yeah.
This Pollen Puff's not going to do too much at all. Look at this. Here we go.
Wait for it. Oh!
Actually, to be fair.
Impressive.
To be fair, I am impressed by that Pollen Puff. So I reckon that Amoonguss is going to do it here, because we've seen the Ivy Cudgel. You've got the Spores to be able to put a stop to the Ivy Cudgels there. That's chipping away more than the Ivy Cudgel would, and even without the Spores, you'd probably be fine.
Yeah, 24 hit points first turn, second turn 19 hit points there. So yeah, I think, like we said, it looks like Amoonguss is most definitely going to be able to wrap this up. I don't even think an Ivy Cudgel crit boosted by the Water Terror is going to be enough for this Ogerpon, which does wake up. But at this point, this is an Amoonguss. It is quite literally built for this. It's going to be taking that damage as if it's just dusting some dust, should I say, off its shoulders. Spore does come out once again, and yeah, this is a bit of a wrap-up. Maybe an opportunity for Alessio to actually try to process through a Game 2 approach.
Yeah, that was pretty close there, and I think the main impactful move was the head smash on that Arcanine. It was able to just knock out that Roaring Moon immediately on the switch in. Yeah, just one more Pollen Puff will do it, and the Amoonguss will be able to take the game. And Ogerpon does wake up, maybe the critical hit. Who knows? Maybe. We'll see. We have to wait and see. Essentially, but no, not even. And the critical hit wouldn't have done it either based on that damage. Yeah, there we go. Offensive Pollen Puff. Amoonguss going on the offensive, taking down the Ogerpon and winning the first game for Alessandro.
Get in. Yes, indeed. I think maybe 2 consecutive critical hits from an Ivy Cudgel could have made it. No shout-outs to yesterday, of course, but I think in this scenario, it might have just been enough of damage output to just barely push that Amoonguss straight past the KO range. But Alessandro doing a very good job in being able to round that one off against Alessio with the Amoonguss endgame. But most critically, it seems like the head smash is such a great pick on this Arcanine.
It was absolutely game-winning there. It was able to KO the Roaring Moon, able to just knock out that Landorus in one shot. I'm trying to think. I don't think that Alessio did any damage to the Arcanine. I think it just KO'd itself to head smash, which is obviously the main downside of that move. It's so strong, like one of the strongest moves you can possibly get. Shaky accuracy as well, but massive recoil. You take half as much damage as you sent out to your opponent. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that Arcanine just KO'd itself. It sacrificed itself to KO 2 Pokemon, Roaring Moon and Landorus, but that was hugely impactful.
I mean, who would have known that we'd be able to see the equivalent of a Giga Impact base power move in the form of a rock type on this Hisuian Arcanine? It just feels like it marries in so well with the Choice Bandit set to the point where, you know, you could just make sure that you reach a certain speed benchmark in order to just go ahead and get, for example, outspeed any sort of modest Golden Goes that could be running about if you want to try to make sure that you can still get the Flare Blitz focus onto it, or if it's a Dragon Terror, perhaps even pick up the KO with the head smash. That may be one of the calculations that Alessandro has actually geared this Arcanine towards, and then just flood in all of the rest of the training into its attack prowess.
Yeah, it's proving how strong it can be with, like Landorus, yeah, it usually intimidates and then it probably be able to survive, and that was just at neutral because it did switch out and switch back in, but it's still incredibly impressive to just take up a complete knockout with a neutral hit. That's always a very impressive thing, and the compounding nature of the choice band on top of the strong power of the head smash, yeah, it's a really, really strong attack. Trainers do often opt for Terra Blast instead, especially when you have the Terra Fairy. The most common Terra that you have when you are opting in for head smash is the Terra Normal to benefit your extreme speeds. But yeah, the head smash just on its own here, like it's incredibly strong. I wouldn't be surprised if we still see the Arcanine here. It's proving why Arcanine still is absolutely a threat, even if it wasn't in that top 12.
I know, exactly, as long as the head smashes do connect. But we shall see in this game too, ladies, gents, and lovely peeps, we've got the leads. Alessio rocking with the Roaring Moon, and Landers Therian versus, once again, Alessandro's Tornadus, however, with a Golden Go.
Now, is Alessandro brave enough to go for that Icy Wind again in the face of that Rock Slide that could be flinching? The Golden Go, it's not in the greatest of positions here. It's threatened by the knockoff, it's threatened by the Stomping Tantrum. If it wants to stay in, it's probably forced to use its Terra immediately on in turn 1 of this game, but then it would at least be able to get that nasty plot. But if you just match the Tailwind with the Roaring Moon as well, if that's the choice, then you're going to be able to outspeed on the next turn, and then Breaking Swipe would threaten Terra Dragon, the Golden Goat as well. That would still do massive damage with the Stomping Tantrum and Breaking Swipe, even if you wouldn't be using it for any of its attack drops. So yeah, there's a Terra coming out immediately, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was just the Golden Go because of the threat of the knockoff and because of the threat of the Stomping Tantrum.
Good shout, Jamie. It is indeed. We're going to be seeing the Dragon Terastallization, a Terra type of defensive choice that has definitely increased in usage with the rise of the Urshifu. As we are going to be seeing a Tailwind being set up, this may well just be a full offensive move, but outspared by the Roaring Moon. It seems like there's not enough training on that Golden Goat to be able to outspeed, unfortunately for itself, with a Tailwind setup. It does survive, it does get the nasty pot set up, but this is a potential double up. No, Stomping Tantrum going into the Tornado slot there, perhaps trying to read into a potential Arcanine switch in.
I mean, Arcanine makes a perfect sense to switch in against the Roaring Moon and a Landorus, especially because a reasonable assumption would be Rock Slide to try and hit that opposing Tornadus. Just one thing to note there, though, that because that did fail, this is now a double power Stomping Tantrum. However, it's not going to be hitting anything. Golden Go's just protecting.
Indeed, Icy Wind does connect with both the Roaring Moon and Landorus. Look at that. It's a two-hit, two-shot onto a Landorus. Kind of makes sense. Quad weak, of course. Roaring Moon is going to now be brought down to neutral speeding. However, we do have the Tailwind now actually being able to be set up. Stomping Tantrum, like you said, Jamie, did try to focus down onto that Golden Go. It will be losing its double-up base power effect.
Yeah, but we got some crucial information there on the first turn that the Roaring Moon still outspeeds this Golden Go, and after taking a knockoff critical here, that might be in range of a Breaking Swipe here. That means that the Arcanine might need to come in to intimidate, but then you've seen that the Landorus has locked in Stomping Tantrum and is willing to Stomping Tantrum a flying type. So this may not be a safe switch in.
Indeed, but let's see if Alessio is going to try to make the risk of going for the Stomping Tantrum into that slot once again. Breaking Swipe, not quite enough to pick off that Golden Go. Naturally, it will be dropping the attack, though, of the Arcanine, but no, it is a safe double up into the Golden Go. Perhaps Alessio didn't want to go into any further mind games and just wanted to try to capitalize off of at least getting some progress made on this turn, given how, unfortunately, they did try to make the prediction into Alessandro's Tornadus there.
Well, if they'd have even made the prediction, yeah, Arcanine's probably KO'd, but then that's a +2 Make It Rain, KOing the Landorus and maybe KOing the Roaring Moon as well. So it makes sense to just double up into that Golden Go. If you've just seen it protect as well, that's a very, very safe double attack into both of those. Amoonguss has joined the field. It's going to be threatening those spores, but you probably need to go for the Rage Powder here to keep that Arcanine safe from any of the Stomping Tantrums, because you don't have Terra available anymore. You were forced into that on turn 1 with the Terra Dragon. So yeah, there is that Rage Powder keeping the Arcanine safe.
Indeed. Arcanine just wants to be able to get off any sort of damage that it can. Potential KOs, as we saw in the previous game. However, it is now at -2 of its attack. Can it dispatch the amount of damage we've seen in the previous game? We're going to have to find out. Stomping Tantrum dealing minimal chip damage onto, of course, the Amoonguss. However, we actually see Rock Slide coming out, just wanting to try to make sure you get some bit of damage dealt onto both Pokemon.
The Landorus is probably in range of another Rock Slide here, so yeah, wants to be switching out, preserve the Intimidate, and not be KO'd to that Rock Slide, because you're probably not going to be able to pick up a KO on either Pokemon this turn, because that Amoonguss can keep that Arcanine safe with its Rage Powders.
Indeed, as Arcanine is actually going to be opting to switch out right now, wanting to reset those attack drops for a later time, as Alessandro has quite correctly identified the great use of offensive pressure that the Arcanine is able to dispatch, as we are going to have knockoff going into the Amoonguss, and sure, the Citrus Berry is gone, but guess what? In turn, it's had to have a trade for Spore, focusing down on it, as Tailwind has just now expired for Alessio.
Yeah, and with the switch out of the Arcanine, you're not threatening this Golden Go anymore. Perfect switch in for Alessio. It's not threatened at all by the Amoonguss, and the one is, yeah, Bleak Wind Storm and Icy Wind, that's not going to hit it either. So even if the Arcanine had stayed in, it had chosen to lock into Rock Slide instead, and that also would not have threatened the Golden Go. So great switch in there. This could just be a Make It Rain to probably KO that Amoonguss. It'd be pretty close, but it's also, if you want to get that nasty plot, this is absolutely the turn to go for it.
Indeed, as Amoonguss is going to be a bit aware and switches out right now. It wants to be able to recover a bit of HP via its Regenerator ability. That does, of course, proc at the end of the switch turn phase. And the Arcanine wants to better position itself against this Golden Go, maybe anticipating the setup of the nasty plot here, as Roaring Moon will, of course, take its guaranteed turn of sleep. Golden Go, like you called out, Jamie, wants to set up the nasty plot, get those schemes going, get the offensive pressure onto Alessandro's side of the field, but at this point, Tailwind and Arcanine facing down Golden Go doesn't look really good for it.
Not particularly, no. That could have been a Make It Rain there, and may not have caved the opposing Amoonguss, but that would have been absolutely massive damage into the opposing Arcanine, and Arcanine's the only real thing that's threatening this Golden Go at this point. And Intimidate is nice, but with the Choice Band being just effectively cancelled out, that would have probably KO'd this Golden Go, so that's probably why it's protecting.
Indeed, and I think a bit of a position game here from Alessio, just wanting to make sure he gets the Intimidate onto the Arcanine at the cost of losing the Landorus, which I do quite like as a play, as you're going to be able to at least further burn out an additional turn of Tailwind whilst maintaining the protection and safety on this Golden Go, not having to immediately commit to a terrestrialization just yet, and now able to bring the redirection onto the field, which at this point I do really quite like.
Yeah, this is a just fantastic position for Alessio. I don't see any real counters to just going for the follow me with your Terra. You get rid of your grass typing, and then you're not taking super effective damage from the Bleak Wind Storm, and you're taking not very effective damage from the Flare Blitz, and then Make It Rain just basically cleans at this point.
Indeed, Arcanine being a bit aware of his position right now, switches out for the Amoonguss. Once again, trying to enforce a bit more of a board position play from Alessandro's side now. If we do see the terrestrialization, which we do, this is a really nice switch in of the Amoonguss being able to come back onto the field. You can threaten those spores into the Ogerpon in the subsequent turn. However, there is still the Golden Go you really need to deal with at this point, as it's just going to go ahead and dispatch a huge amount of damage, especially as we've got the redirection now on the field. Bleak Wind Storm, minimal damage on both Pokemon. However, it does actually drop the speed of the Ogerpon. I'm not sure if at the moment that will count, but guess what does? The double KO onto the Amoonguss and Tornadus. Double one-hit KO, should I say, pretty much, indeed, leaving the Arcanine on its lonesome self.
Yeah, and that's just another follow me and another Make It Rain, and there's nothing that can be done here. If they lock into Rock Slide with the Arcanine, yeah, you hit both and you get around the follow me, but that's just not doing enough damage to this Golden Go. It will eventually break through and get that Make It Rain. So really nice adjustment coming out here from Alessio, taking care of that opposing Golden Go really early, just freed up his own, and it was only really the Arcanine that can threaten with Flare Blitz. It was locked into Rock Slide when the Golden Go joined the field, free nasty plot. And then as soon as you get that redirection next to the Golden Go, you basically get to follow me for the rest of the game. None, and not even apparently. You can just double protect. I guess to stall out any Tailwinds, it doesn't really matter at this point. You can go for an Ivy Cudgel for the KO, you can go for a follow me and a Make It Rain for the KO, and you at least get to see what it's locked into. It is Rock Slide here.
Indeed, and at this point I think Alessandro has correctly identified that you just have to try to win out with flinches at this point and hope that somehow you can outspeed the Roaring Moon once Tailwind it has expired as well and does come back onto the field. But yeah, I think at this point it's quite dire for Alessandro in this situation. We do know Ogerpon had its speed dropped, so we may run into a situation of sure you could get double flinch, but I don't think I'm going to see this Golden Go down anytime soon.
It would take quite a few Rock Slide flinches because the leftovers just countering it so well. The Ogerpon just switching out here. There's no need to follow me. There's no need to try and get around any of these flinches. is, it doesn't matter. The Golden Go is just going to break through immediately and send us straight into that Game 3.
Indeed, Game 3, and what a great way to be able to do so. A lot of very smart, slick board position plays from Alessio there to be able to set up the board to the point where you're able to, sure, lose the Landorus, but its use was through those Intimidates. Correctly identified the MVP status of that Hisuian Arcanine, especially with that head smash, where Alessandro wasn't able to capitalize off of that at all. He had to succumb to the multiple consecutive breaking swipes, dropped its attack down to -2, sure, switched it out, brought it back in, and guess what? Landorus was there to further reduce its damage output back, let's say, to neutral as if it didn't have the choice band, but at that point, he had to still lock into Rock Slide because he wanted damage on both Pokemon as opposed to just locking in to Head Smash, which we did not see being used at all in Game 2.
Not at all, no. You need to go for the Flare Blitzes or just the Shadow Balls into the opposing Golden Go. If you're bringing Amoonguss and Tornadus, that's not going to be able to do it at all into the opposing Golden Go, so it has to be Arcanine and Golden Go itself. And it forced into that Terastallization immediately on that first turn because of the threat of the knockoff, because of the threat of the Stomping Tantrum. You've used your Terastallization really early and then lost the Golden Go pretty early on as well. Therefore, you only have Arcanine to be able to Flare Blitz. And as soon as you lock into Rock Slide, that's the freest nasty plot. We see how much damage that does. That just cleaned the board of the Tornadus and the Amoonguss when that was basically a full HP as well. So, yeah, Golden Go, it seems like it's important for both trainers here because we saw Alessandro in that first game. The Golden Go was moving first before Alessio's, and then it got a nasty plot. It was threatening massive damage. It KO'd the opposing Golden Go with a +2 Shadow Ball. But then in the second game, lost it too early, and then the opposing Golden Go was able to just completely sweep. So I think whoever supports their Golden Go, if that's what the game plan they're still sticking to, whoever supports their Golden Go the best will probably come out on top in this Game 3.
How do you feel about the leads? Because we saw a bit of a change up from Alessandro. They're leading with Tailwind and Arcanine straight off the bat, and just wanting to try to feel like going for damage, but Landorus Therian was on the field to sort of slow that damage down for the Arcanine.
Yeah, I don't think you can lead with the Golden Go again if you're going to be facing down Roaring Moon and Landorus, because that's just threatening too much damage, forcing the Terra early, and you want to try and save the Terra if you can. And there is a little bit of a switch up. It is still the Golden Go. It's Golden Go apiece for both these trainers, so there is a switch up for both of them. The Roaring Moon is still here for Alessio, threatening that Tailwind, but no Tornadus in sight, at least on this first turn. It's Arcanine and Golden Go for Alessandro.
Interesting. I think it may have been that situation where perhaps it was a bit in a bit of a passive spot due to the speed interactions of the Roaring Moon versus the Tornadus, hence why, Roaring Moon boosts the energy with speed and support is actually quite nice to be able to take advantage of a passive Tailwind turn from that Tornadus. But like you said, and correctly identified, Jamie, Golden Goes afoot. They are on both sides of the field. Arcanine does have that advantage of getting the Intimidate down onto the Roaring Moon, which may allow the Golden Go on Alessandro's side to not actually succumb to a KO from the knockoff.
So it's still somewhat awkward to being able to go for knockoff and Shadow Ball if you want to KO the opposing Golden Go on Alessandro's side of the field. You might need to go for your Terra just again because of that Flare Blitz potential that could be knocking out the Golden Go. But if you do that, then you make yourself weak, well, not weak, but at least not resisting Make It Rains anymore. At least you'll get rid of the Shadow Ball weakness that you could have been going for. But there's the Arcanine switching out, so that's left this Golden Go on Alessandro's side of the field completely open here to a potential knockoff and a Shadow Ball.
Yeah, this is going to be a potential risky play from Alessandro. Let's actually see how that pans out. It looks like there is the Dragon Terastallization, which is probably a direct answer to that play of the knockoff and Shadow Ball. Focus down. It's sort of, you have to make that play if you're going to switch the Arcanine out and try to get a bit of board state going with the Tornadus being switched in. So double Golden Go, double Dragon Terastalizations on both sides of the field, brimming with light. Quite nice. And unfortunately losing the leftovers for Alessandro's side due to the knockoff, not dealing that much damage at all. So it's going to be a question of whether there's going to be a damage move coming out, which it does seem to be the case. And all of a sudden, Golden Go brought down to just under 25% of its remaining HP. Sure, there is the Tornadus on the field, but we did see the interaction, Jamie, in Game 1, where the Golden Go on Alessandro's side, even with Tailwind, was not able to outspeed the Roaring Moon booster energy.
That's going to be really, really big here. here. You may need to just switch in your Arcanine for another Intimidate. Otherwise, the Breaking Swipe, now that it's a Dragon type on the Golden Go, that's probably enough to be able to pick up the knockout. We saw a -1 Breaking Swipe into the Golden Go in the previous games, and that's looking about as much damage as it did previously. So if you do go for the Tailwinds, that won't work because of the speed interactions here. The Roaring Moon could just set up its own Tailwind as well if it does want to try and get its, the Golden Go in a position as well. But the fact that the Booster Energy is allowing that Golden Go, the Roaring Moon, to outspeed the Golden Go, that's going to make it pretty awkward for Alessandro here.
Yeah, hence why we are going to be seeing a defensive play coming out from that slot. Perhaps Alessandro wanting to hope that the Tornadus can remain on the field after this Tailwind to try to get an Icy Wind off immediately after. But guess what? That's just going to be completely nullified due to the Tailwind from this Roaring Moon. Kind of pinned in to try to lock for the Tailwind, just because you are going to be losing this. Oh, wait, you're not going to be losing this Tornadus. Of course, it was at -1 of its special attack. It hadn't had the Nasty Plot set up. So right now, the Golden Go on Alessio's side, it's at -2 sure of special attack, but it is very healthy.
Yeah, that was actually probably a good not KO on the opposing Tornadus. That would have given a switch in something like the Arcanine. That would have been able to intimidate the opposing Roaring Moon again, and maybe the Golden Go is able to survive a Breaking Swipe when it is at -2. But instead, Breaking Swipe might just be a double KO here. It's usually used for its supportive prowess in the attack drops, but Tornadus being so low, yeah, that's definitely in range. And Golden Go, it's going to be pretty close based on the fact that it is now super effective hit into it. So yeah, the Tornadus is forced out here. That could have been just an immediate switch into the Arcanine, but having to spend this turn getting that Intimidate means you don't have a Bleakman Storm or an Icy Wind this turn.
Indeed, as Arcanine is going to try to switch in, perhaps Alessandro wanting to safeguard this Tornadus for the mid to end game scenario to get another Tailwind set up, and it just survives the Golden Go from the Breaking Swipe there, thanks to that switch in, being able to now have the -2 of its attack there. Oh, it survives after this +2 special attack Golden Go, just so it can retaliate and pick up the KO and deal respectable amounts of damage to that Arcanine, if I don't say so myself, whilst being at -2 of special attack, and now consequently being at -3.
So it's saying who's supporting their Golden Go the best here, and at least for these turns, Alessio's has come out on top. Clutch survivals from both. The Intimidate becoming very impactful to allow that Golden Go to survive that Breaking Swipe, but a perfectly trained Golden Go here on Alessio's side of the field, able to tank that +2 Make It Rain. Yeah, sure, responded with a -2 Make It Rain, but that was all you needed when that Golden Go was on such a low health at this point. Now the Arcanine has been Breaking Swiped. It is at -1. If it does go on the offensive here, you've got another opportunity, getting another Breaking Swipe into that Arcanine, and then an Intimidate in the future as well. So if you're choosing to stay in with the Arcanine and get a KO, both Pokemon are probably in range of a Rock Slide at this point. Maybe not the Roaring Moon if it gets Breaking Swipe off again, but then the Arcanine's going to be in a pretty awkward spot going into the future turns.
Indeed, as Golden Go, actually, Alessio being able to see its value against this Amoonguss and even Arcanine to an extent later on in the game, maybe wanting to go ahead and safeguard it in order to have a free switch in against Spore. We are going to be seeing a quite nice sync there of the Landorus being brought in, being able to drop the Arcanine to -1, followed by the Breaking Swipe now down to -2, all in one turn. And this is why this strategy is so good against physical attackers for that exact reason, with the supportive Roaring Moonset being able to survive here. It does get spored. However, this is a scenario where actually it's in Alessio's favor. You just want to be able to whittle down Alessandro's resources.
Yeah, and you've been doing that very, very nicely here. Arcanine's a -3, and that Rock Slide, you saw how much damage into the Landorus, and it's going to be able to survive on the field for multiple turns. It's being able to switch in completely free. It's unintimidated. If Arcanine wants to do that, it's going to have to switch out and switch back in. And then there's multiple turns of just not attacking here for Alessandro. And that gives this switch in now to the Golden Go.
Indeed. And going to also see a switch in from Alessandro's side. It makes sense. You want to go ahead and neutralize all of those attack drops from the Arcanine, bring it back in later on. Tornadus actually being the sacrificial lamb at this point. Will be going down, only basically utilizing as much of the resource available as you can from Alessandro, because getting that Spore on the Landorus and not being felled by a flinch from that scenario is definitely in your favor. You want to try to slow things down and get the pressure back on, especially against this Golden Go. Now that it's the Dragon Terror, you can still extreme speed into it.
You can, and you might need to at this point, because you assumedly got that Ogerpon waiting in the back, and now that it didn't go for its terrestrialization, that's the Golden Go that's got it. At some point, the Ogerpon comes in, ignores any Rage Powders that comes out, and Ivy Cudgel KOs the Arcanine, assumedly. It might still under speed. It depends on the training. Some trainers go for much bulkier Ogerpons, some trainers go for super fast Arcanines. So I don't think we've actually yet properly seen that interaction of who is faster between them, because there's always been some tailwinds and there's always been the interactions there. So that's one of the key things here. But we saw that the Amoonguss was able to 1v1 the opposing Ogerpon previously, and it might be able to do that even better now Terra isn't available, because Pollen Puff would be super effective and Ivy Cudgel would be even weaker. So you do need to somehow get around this Ogerpon that could be coming in here. It's instead just going to be the Roaring Moon at this point. On such low HP, you're going to be able to sacrifice it basically at this point so you can get another Intimidate with your Landorus.
Indeed, and I think at this point it is just trying to utilize your resources as best as possible, as Arcanine is going to be locked into the Rock Slide right now. It does pick up the KO onto that Roaring Moon. It doesn't actually lock into Extreme Speed there, so maybe Alessandro's a bit more confident in his speed tiering versus this Ogerpon, because we do tend to see Wellspring Mask Ogerpon be a bit more bulky in order to capitalize off of the utility of redirection. However, I have actually seen myself some very speedy Ogerpons which are trying to take advantage of that fact and actually get surprise KOs, reach that speed benchmark to be that tiny bit faster, especially against Arcanines.
You probably have to play for Arcanine being faster than Ogerpon at this point. If it's not, it's just game over. There's an Ivy Cudgel, and then bonk, Arcanine is gone. So, and then you've got your Golden Go that's going to be immune to Spores. It will leftovers back up. It will beat the Pollen Puffs any day. You get this Intimidate for good measure as well. There's just really no damage on Alessandro's side of the field anymore. Yeah, it's a Choice Band Rock Slide, but it's an Intimidate Rock Slide. Ogerpon's faster. Here it comes. Goodbye, Arcanine. And then it's now Amoonguss. It can 1v1 an Ogerpon, sure. Yeah. I don't think it can 1v3 in this situation.
No, I mean, to be honest and give it the credit it deserves, that's some pretty good damage. Yeah. What was that, 64 points? Wow. Yeah. And I think it showed why it's such a great Pokemon time and time again, but it just could not do as much right now. Alessio is going to be your winner of our first stream match of day 2.
What a set to start us off here in